Hey there, history buffs. Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic, controversial, and just plain wild chapters of history, the Crusades. These were epic military campaigns that spanned nearly 200 years, involving knights, kings, popes, and more battles than you can count. Spoiler alert, this isn't just about good guys versus bad guys, it's way more complicated. So, buckle up because we're heading back to the Middle Ages. Alright, first things first, what exactly were the Crusades? These were a series of religious wars launched by European Christians to reclaim the Holy Land, modern-day Israel, Palestine, and surrounding areas from Muslim control. At least, that's the simplified version. It all started in 1095 when Pope Urban II gave a fiery speech at the Council of Clermont, basically saying, hey, Christians, the Holy Land is under Muslim rule and we need to take it back. Oh, and by the way, if you fight, all your sins will be forgiven. Boom, instant motivation. This kicked off though. So, the First Crusade wasn't exactly a well-organized road trip. We're talking about thousands of knights, peasants, and even children heading east without GPS, proper supplies, or much of a plan. After marching through Europe and some very awkward interactions with locals along the way, the Crusaders finally reached the Holy Land in 1099. They laid siege to Jerusalem in a brutal campaign. Long story short, they captured the city, but at a horrifying cost: massacres of Muslim and Jewish residents. It was messy, violent, and set a precedent for how the Crusades would go down. Now, let's switch perspectives for a second. The Muslim world wasn't just sitting around during all this. Leaders like Saladin rose to power, uniting Muslim forces to push back against the Crusaders. Saladin is kind of a big deal. He was a brilliant strategist, a strong leader, and someone even his enemies respected. He's the guy who recaptured Jerusalem in 1187 during the Third Crusade, which we'll get to in a second. The Second Crusade, not great. It was supposed to reinforce Crusader states in the Holy Land, but ended up being a huge flop. Then came the Third Crusade, aka the Celebrity Crusade, because it involved big names like Richard the Lionheart of England and Saladin. Richard and Saladin faced off in a series of battles that became legendary. Spoiler: Richard didn't retake Jerusalem, but he did negotiate a truce that allowed Christian pilgrims to visit the city. Not a total loss, but not a win either. And the Fourth Crusade, let's just say it got weird. Instead of fighting Muslims, the Crusaders ended up attacking Constantinople, a Christian city, because of politics and money. Yeah, it was a mess. By the time the 5th, 6th, and 7th Crusades rolled around, the whole crusading vibe had started to fade. The energy was gone, the funding was harder to come by, and the Muslim forces had grown stronger. The Crusaders lost their last major stronghold, Acre, in 1291, officially marking the end of the Crusades. But here's the thing, even after the fighting stopped, the Crusades left a huge impact. Trade routes expanded, ideas spread between Europe and the Middle East, and even today, the Crusades are a major point of historical debate. So, what's the takeaway here? The Crusades were about religion, sure, but they were also about politics, power, and money. They changed the course of history in ways people at the time couldn't have imagined. On one hand, you've got the spread of culture and ideas, things like new trade goods, advanced knowledge and medicine, and even architecture. On the other hand, the Crusades were a series of brutal, often unnecessary wars that caused suffering for countless people. The legacy of the Crusades is still felt today, especially in how we think about religious and cultural conflicts. So, there you have it, the Crusades in all their complexity. They weren't just battles over land, they were a clash of cultures, beliefs, and ambitions that shaped the medieval world and beyond. If you found this video helpful or learned something new, hit that like button and subscribe for more history deep dives. And hey, let me know in the comments, what do you think was the most surprising part of the Crusades? Until next time, stay curious.